When we talk about commercial content, most people immediately think of carefully reviewed TV programs designed to avoid offending anyone's sensibilities. These shows are created with the intention of not sending negative messages, especially to children. The concept of appropriate content is relatively modern, something that has become much more regulated in recent decades. However, it wasn't always like this. In the past, television rules were much looser. There were no codes or conduct guidelines, and what today would be considered politically incorrect was, in fact, the cultural norm. Society back then was different, and what aired on TV reflected these ideas without much concern for the audience's reaction. Now, get ready, because you are about to embark on a journey into the unknown, where you will witness some of the most iconic characters from your childhood saying or doing things that, in today's world, will be completely unacceptable. Things that will no doubt leave you speechless. Television was once a wild, unregulated place, and many episodes aired without any censorship. Let's dive into a list of 7 animated episodes that were so controversial, they ended up being banned from TV forever. Number 7. Beavis and Butt-Head. The incendiary humor Beavis and Butt-Head were known as the kings of irreverence in TV animation before South Park came onto the scene. Even after losing their throne to the boys from Colorado, Beavis and Butt-Head still hold a unique place in TV history for an episode that made a lasting impact. In 1993, an episode titled Comedians aired, showing the duo attempting and failing to become stand-up comedians. At first glance, this seems like a harmless joke. The trouble began when Beavis, in a desperate attempt to be funny, decided to set fire to newspapers on stage. This small act led to a real-world tragedy when a young fan of the show tried to imitate Beavis and accidentally started a fire that claimed the life of his younger sister. After the incident, the episode was pulled from the air forever. Number 6. Dexter's Laboratory. Barbecuer and the offensive stereotype fans of Dexter's Laboratory may remember the hero monkey who had his own segment, Dial M for Monkey. In one particular episode titled Barbecue, there was a parody of the Marvel villain Galactus, portrayed as a literal planet eater. His assistant, a parody of Silver Surfer, was named Silver Spooner, and here's where the episode crossed the line. Silver Spooner spoke with a highly effeminate voice and embodied many negative stereotypes of the LGBTQIA+ community. There was no subtlety in how the episode ridiculed these characteristics, sparking a massive controversy after its one-time airing. As a result, the episode was quickly banned from television. If you want to watch the full episode, you can still find it on YouTube, but be warned, it is loaded with outdated prejudices that would be unacceptable today. Number 5. Cow and Chicken. Buffalo Gals and the inappropriate jokes of Beavis and Butt-Head set the standard for irreverence. Cow and Chicken followed a similar path with its own brand of biting humor, albeit in a much more moderate tone. That was until an episode titled Buffalo Gals pushed the boundaries too far. The entire episode was filled with lesbian innuendos, something completely out of place for a show aimed at children. Cow and Chicken's mother explains that the Buffalo Gals are a group of motorcycle-riding women who break into houses and munch on carpets. For those unfamiliar, the phrase munching on carpets is a well-known slang term in the US for referring to lesbian oral sex. The sexual innuendos continue throughout the episode, leading many parents to question how such content could be shown on a kid's show. Like the previous episodes mentioned, this one was promptly banned. Number 4. Oh, Difficult Decision. Family Guy and abortion. Even though many might think we live in a more politically correct time, there are still certain topics that remain deeply controversial, even today. One of these topics is abortion. In 2010, Family Guy, the show that surpassed The Simpsons in terms of dysfunctional families, tackled the issue of abortion in an unexpected way. In the episode, Lois is asked by a friend to carry a baby via in vitro fertilization. However, after a tragic accident that leads to her friend's death, Lois and Peter are faced with a devastating decision: to have the baby or opt for an abortion. In a surprising twist, Lois decides to abort, which was considered outrageous by Fox, leading the network to ban the episode from airing. Number 3. Donald Duck and war propaganda. During World War II, Disney collaborated with the US government to create political propaganda. One of the most frequently used characters for this purpose was Donald Duck. In one particularly controversial episode, Donald Duck becomes the spokesperson for a clear message: if you don't pay your taxes, you're helping Hitler. The message, while patriotic for the time, was considered manipulative by many. Today, this episode would be seen as an extreme example of government propaganda, but at the time, it was aired without much controversy. Number 2. Bugs Bunny and racial stereotypes. Warner Brothers wasn't immune to controversies either, especially when it came to racial representation in their cartoons. During World War II, Bugs Bunny appeared in an episode that portrayed the Japanese in a highly offensive manner. The Japanese characters were drawn with exaggerated, disrespectful features, and their speech was mocked as a series of hysterical screeches. This episode was yet another example of how, back then, racial stereotypes were widely accepted in the media without a second thought. Number 1. Explicit racism in Lazy Town and Betty Boop. The top spot on our list goes to two of the most shocking episodes in animation history. In Lazy Town, a small town inhabited exclusively by black characters, all of them are portrayed in deeply disrespectful ways, with traits that liken them to animals. But the most offensive episode comes from Betty Boop, where children of various nationalities are parroted, with the most negative portrayals reserved for black characters, who are depicted in a completely stereotypical and dehumanizing way.